The time is 7:30. I call the January 16th, 2024 meeting of Yardley Borough Council to order. Please stand for the pledge to our flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paula, would you do our roll call, please?
Mr. Stump? Mr. Carlson?
Here.
Mr. Finer?
Here.
Ms. Siegel-Morse?
Here.
Ms. Scherer?
Present.
Mr. Applebaum?
Present.
And Ms. Thompson is absent today.
We have a quorum, and we have the mayor here as well. There's some echo coming from over there. Can we do something about that?
Still on the road, Corey.
No, is that in my head, or is that actually happening? Just give you a moment to fix that. Reminds me of old long-distance calls when they used to have a bad connection. Testing. Testing. Okay. I wasn't even going to try to talk with that. It was making me crazy. And I did hear from Jared Stump that he will be in, just running late for some work-related things. Okay, a few quick notes before we proceed. President Thompson's unable to attend the meeting tonight. We do wish her well and her family well for a smooth and speedy recovery. I will chair tonight's meeting as the council VP. I've been to probably more council meetings than I can count, but I've never actually run one, so please bear with me. And you can consider it a test to see if I've been paying attention all these years. If I miss anything, just please shout out and let me know. So fasten your seatbelts. Here we come. Committee assignments. President Thompson determined the new committee assignments. Council organization and committees are as follows. The council president is Caroline Thompson. Vice president is Uri Finer. President pro tempore is Don Carlson. General Government Chair, Don Carlson, along with Kim Siegel-Morse. Public Works Chair is Uri Finer, along with David Applebaum and Jared Stump. Public Safety is Kim Siegel-Morse Chair, along with Michelle Scherer, and Chris Harding, Mayor Chris Harding, is part of that as well. Community Outreach is chaired by Jared Stump, along with Michelle Scherer. And Community and Economic Development is chaired by David Applebaum with Don Carlson. And President Thompson says somehow everyone got their first choices. Wow. And I will concur with that. It wasn't always like that, and it's really nice to have people doing what they most want to do. She also says liaisonships will be sent once she has her feet back under her. We will now move on to community announcements, starting with community outreach, and I'll just hand it over to, for now, our new head of community outreach. Jared is not here yet, but I think we're in this transitionary point, so let's go with David, Michelle.
Michelle, would you like to talk about Lake Afton?
Well,
And
just a little tidbit that, I found, and I just thought it was interesting. Maybe we could do something with it next year. This Friday, the January 19th, is National Duck Day, and I think we should probably plan on doing something on National Duck Day in the future. Last week was, I think Saturday was National Rubber Ducky Day, so, we must pay attention to those things.
Well, let's make sure we get all our ducks in a row for
That's right.
next year.
Okay. Thank you. Any other community announcements?
I saw, thank you, that Yardley Farmers Market is on the 20th. I guess that's this Saturday, running from 10 a.m. to noon at the Pavilion, and I have nothing else.
Thank you, Councilperson Applebaum. Any other community announcements from council? From the public? Yes, Susan Taylor.
If any of you were planning to go to the Historical Association's Yardley Neighborhoods Then and Now on next Thursday, the 25th, get there early. An unprecedented number of people on Facebook have said that they're interested. So it means that we will have a full house and probably an overflow. So wonderful to know that there's that much interest in what Yardley was and what it is now.
That is exciting. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, we will move on to public comment. This is the portion of the meeting where members of the public can approach the table, state their name and address, and keep their comments to 3 minutes. Any public comments this evening? Okay, hearing none, that concludes public comment. We will now move on to the consent agenda dated January 16th, 2024, which includes 2 items: approval of minutes dated January 2nd, 2024, and consideration of FEMA-funded 25 North Delaware Avenue elevation payment certificate number 2. Does any member of council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Okay, I will actually remove our first item, minutes, for separate consideration. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted without the removed item?
So be it.
Okay,
Second it.
okay. Motion made by Councilperson Scherer and seconded by Councilperson Applebaum. Any discussion from council? Discussion from the public? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously, 7-0.
5-0.
5-0. Sorry about that. Lost count. Okay. We'll now consider the removed item that I pulled, which is the approval of minutes dated January 2nd, 24. The only reason I pulled it is because my name is misspelled in several places. It's spelled F-E-I-N-E-R. So if we could just note that and correct that in the future, I'm good with that. And with that, do I have a motion to approve the minutes dated January 2nd, 2024 with spelling corrections?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Motions made by Councilperson Carlson, seconded by Councilperson Scherer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. Okay. I will now ask for consensus from council to accept the finance report, which is really the bills list, dated January 16th, 2024. Any issues or questions on the bills list? We have consensus. Okay, we will move on to part 2 of our council meeting. This is the working session, which we do once a month. And it's a monthly opportunity for council to freely discuss open business items or future potential business items. This week's items are from general government, community outreach, and community and economic development. I'm pleased to have the members of the Planning Commission here today. I appreciate you being here, and actually appreciate all of you for being here on a snowy, icy day. So we will start with general government, the 2023 final budget analysis, and I will hand it over to you, Councilperson Carlson.
It's a little early to have all the official numbers in, but I want to give people a feeling for what happened versus last year's budget, 2023, and how we stack up for 2024. For those of you who were here when we presented the budget, one of the key things about the budget in 2024 is we have no tax increase. And the reason we have no tax increase is because we forecasted to save about $95,000 worth of money from 2023 that we can then carry over to 2024 to help offset inflationary things and other cost increases that are there in 2024. So what we've done so far, and it's early this year, of course everything will be audited later on, is just look at how did the things we thought were going to happen in 2023, and did it happen? Do we have that money coming out of the starting gate? And I'll just highlight a few of the areas. It's a pretty good story. Interest was our big one. We thought we'd have $20,000 of extra interest based on all the monies we have in all the accounts. That ended up being at $40,000. So you can thank the higher interest rates for helping do that. We're getting over 5.3% interest on our money. So that was much more than budgeted. Police services were almost double what we thought we would do, and that's mainly because of additional requests from the Hebrew school to have police coverage there more hours during the day. Unfortunate for other reasons, but that's additional revenue coming in. We got significantly additional state shared revenue came in January, in December to help with Yardley Bridge and other projects. So that's the good stuff. The other thing that happened is on real estate transfer tax. If people remember, that's really a big one. Hard to predict, but a big one. We were sitting here predicting that we would miss our budget of $150,000 by $30,000 this year because there just weren't as many houses being sold as the previous year, this year being 2023. And we ended up missing, but it was $5,000 better. We missed by 25, but that was planned. So overall, on the income level, we wanted to get at least $75,000 of additional income in 2023, and we're going to be probably almost $150,000. So that's good. So we're starting with a positive on the income side. On the expenses side, one of the things we did in the budget next year is we're funding, and it's already happened, but the additional police officer, full-time police officer. And the way that we did that is we looked at the current budget and how things would change in terms of overtime and part-time hires, part-time hours, et cetera, to be able to fund that. And we projected to save $34,000 in 2023 to apply towards 2024, and we saved 40. So that's another one that's good. Engineering went the other way a little bit. We thought we'd have a surplus. We ended up about 15 or 16,000 over what we projected. We had some makeup work for things that didn't get done in prior years that weren't budgeted, so that took a little hit there. But other areas, general government, planning and zoning, public works, were all very close to what we predicted back in November. Right to Knows came in at 18,222, over what we had projected. So overall, we're going to be at least 50,000, probably around closer to 70,000 more in available funds for 2024 than what we predicted back in November. So that's a good starting point. That doesn't mean that 2024 is in the bag by any means, but we're starting off, and at least we're not starting off in the hole. Let's put it that way. And we'll watch it as this year flows out.
Thank you. So I just want to give a chance for people, anyone in council to, mayor, council, to ask questions for discussion around that.
I'll show, not ignorance, but a little bit of my not understanding a little bit about how things work. Could you, Don, explain what the transfer tax is and how it works and how it affects us?
Yeah, the real estate transfer tax is very simple. It's a tax that is paid at closing, and 0.5% goes to Yardley Borough. So if it's an expensive property, 0.5% is a good number. So those are closings that are made, and deeds recorded, so it's a lag of about a month from when people actually sell their homes. So, we look at history and try to guess what we're going to get. And in past years, one of the tougher things was you'd have houses for sale, et cetera, but when they actually close, sometimes would take several months, typically would take several months. The difference here is there's not much inventory, but when they go on the market, they seem to be selling quickly and closing quickly. So a lot of the houses that were sold in September and October closed by the end of the year. So anyhow, so we have no control over it, except people wanting to come here, I guess. But so it's a tough one to predict. There's been big years back, 2 or 3 years ago when they were still selling new homes in Yardley Walk. It was a big number coming in. One of the main reasons you didn't have tax increases for a long time, because there was so much revenue coming in from that. But now we lowered it. We lowered the budget. The budget was 150 for 2023. We did 125, and then for next year we were in at 120. The numbers are in for December, there's a 1-month lag. So we got the January number, and it was over 10,000, so that's right on budget. You know, if we do 10,000 a month, we'll be good. But who knows, you know?
And just to clarify, is that just residential, or does it include commercial properties too?
No, it's commercial properties as well.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
And one of the windfalls we received was when that Yardley Walk, the entire property was sold to Lennar.
Yes.
It was a one-time payment. That was a nice.
One-time payment and nothing, you know, no additional work for the borough. Well, maybe a few more inspections.
Not a whole lot,
but
yeah.
Not a lot, yes.
Not a lot. One question I have for you is whether, I know that the interest that we now receive on borough, you know, money in our accounts is higher but I remember when you went over that with us last year, that it was based on that interest rate. But now there's talk of the interest rates going down.
Right.
I was wondering what it was predicted.
Yeah, what we projected is we're running in the fourth quarter here, around 5.2 or 5.3, something like that, the rate what they were getting. And that had ramped up a little bit during the year. We budgeted a 20% reduction. We said we budgeted 20% lower rates over the entire year. So first month it's not lower. So I think it's middle of the road. I don't know, you know.
That's great.
If they don't do interest rate reductions still halfway through the year, we'll probably be okay. We'll probably
Right, then it could
right side of
go
the
down
ledger on this.
2%.
Yeah, and it won't go, yeah, so we'll see.
Right, great, thank you. So this is open discussion. Does anyone else on council have anything they'd like to ask? Okay, I just want to thank you for just the level of detail and diligence in this process. Welcome. So I'll turn it over to members of the public. Again, this is just open discussion, so we want to give you an opportunity if you have any questions about what you've heard so far. Okay. Well, with that, we'll conclude the general government portion of our working session, and our next working session is community outreach. We will cover, actually, in the last meeting, we already approved the appointments and reappointments, except for with pending one that was requiring some paperwork. So I want to hand it over to David. I think I'll hand it over to you, and you could just clarify.
Yeah, let me, thank you, Ori, and I thought it might be useful at this point just to review the appointments and reappointments so everyone is clear. I see that we have one person in the audience I'll introduce. I don't know everyone here, so if there's anyone else I spoke to that you were appointed to something, let me know so I can introduce you, but otherwise I know one person. Let me start off with first saying that many people come to council in the past and would like to maybe be appointed as a council person or something that is behind the table. But what we have always recommended before you do that is to join a board or a committee to get your feet wet and get the experience that you need and information that you need and the education you need to do a good job behind the table. And so I commend the people that I've spoken to over the last year and a half for stepping up into positions hopefully they're going to enjoy, but also are beneficial to the community. Some are, probably more fun than others, like Parks and Rec, but not to say the sewer board isn't exciting. I know it is, and it's important. But it just says a lot about our community, and that I'm no pat on the back here, but last year was one of the first years I understand that we were able to fill every single spot, and that's really an accomplishment, not just because I made a lot of calls, but because people stepped up and understood how important it was. So thank you to the community. Let me start off with those that were reappointed, because that's probably a little easier. And sorry, I just got to find it. Okay. I apologize because this one's not on the spreadsheet. So I got it. Okay. So those individuals that were reappointed, and correct me if I don't remember which board or committee they're on, but Kim Sharp, who I believe is on zoning board, accepted a reappointment, or wanted to be reappointed, I should say. You have to want to be reappointed. We don't force you to take the job. So that's good to know, that people have consistently re-upped on their appointments because they feel they have a duty, and it's important to the community. Secondly, Tom Sims, also on the zoning hearing board. Then you're going to have to check me on this one, but Chuck Dawn, is that sewer?
Planning Commission.
Planning, thank you. And Bob Bouchard?
Planning.
Planning, thank you. And Eli Dreyfus would be Harb? Okay. And I'll just thank those people that weren't able to continue for personal reasons or just decide to give up. Oh, thank you. I will. Thank you. For instance, Michelle had taken the position of, a council person. Ann Heasley, who I understand has been on Parks and Rec for many years, we want to thank her. Steve Andrews, who was reappointed. I hope I'm saying this. Ackville Montevillate? Akvila? Thank you. Is now, again, the chair of Parks and Rec. Carol Schultz, we want to thank for her many years of service on Parks and Rec, but decided to leave Parks and Rec, though very popular, as I said, committee, so we have no problem filling that. The vacancy board, Brian Welsh left that position, so it was vacant, but we filled it. And Jared, also thank you for your time on, what committee was it?
The Human Relations.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you like that. And then, again, another person, long-term member of the sewer board, I'm sure, Rich Cole. So those were the people who were reappointed, and a few people I wanted to recognize for their years of service. Following up on that, very quickly, are the appointments for this year. First of all, I'd like to introduce, if you don't mind, Roger Crook from 104 North Main Street. He is now on the vacancy board of one. So thank you. Would you like to say anything or just tell us anything about why you decided to...
David's excellent trivia skills at Yardley General that convinced me that I needed to join up. And no, seriously, yeah, it's time to do something. I retired in October. So, yeah, David cooks me. Happy to help out.
Okay, good. That wasn't painful. We also on the Environmental Advisory Committee, we have two positions we filled, Ambika Nambudirapad and Tracy Hemmerle. On Parks and Rec, we have joining us Jill Duran, and Human Relations, we have Lou Sabi, and Sewer Board, Andrew Johnson. I'm just looking at our manager just to make sure she's okay with that list. Yep, okay. We had the vote last time, so I don't think we have to do anything else at this point. Is that correct, Manager Johnson?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry,
That's
I should
totally up to you.
apologize, I was out, I'll explain later, but I haven't been in town exactly for the last week or so, and so I'm a little rusty on a couple things, I apologize, thank you. Was there any questions from anyone about appointments or reappointments? No? Okay.
Well, I just want to appreciate the work that you did and you and Michelle.
Oh,
both
by the
of you.
way,
Yeah,
please, let me just say that, I couldn't have done this without Michelle's help.
great, yeah.
So, thank you.
Well, it's a lot of work because you look at all those names and those behind all those names are all the applicants and all the conversations and all the coordination to do it. And that's just in previous years, we never filled everything. So you've set a high bar. Now it's moving over to Jared.
Well, no one told me that I didn't have to. I'm just kidding.
But, and so filling the positions, and part, of course, that is the community stepping up, like Roger, to take open spots and to share in the areas of their expertise and interest.
Yeah.
It's great to see it. It really is. And also that we're seeing more interrelation between council and the boards, like having planning commission here today. I think that's
I
also.
actually really enjoy talking to all these people and all the references, because it gives you a perspective on, just how interested and excited people are about this town. And it was a pleasure, but I'm ready to hand that over to someone else.
Great. Well, thank you.
Was-
Thank you for taking that on, Jared.
Yep, absolutely.
Was there a second part?
No, yeah, it was moved. We moved it because the other part is actually not under community outreach. So, yeah, so we're going to conclude the community outreach discussion now, or group session, working session now. And we will move on to community and economic development. And we'll start with the comprehensive plan, which is going to be the Planning Commission joining us here today to talk about the request for proposal for the comprehensive plan. Don, do you want to say anything about this? Don and I attended the Planning Commission meeting where this idea arose.
Yeah. The comprehensive plan is something that, needs to be done every 10 years, and it lays out the real direction of where we want to take the borough, et cetera. And as part of this effort, we want to have some outside help to help with the work, and they're going to explain what they want them to do. But we asked the Planning Commission to come here to this working session so that council members could be comfortable with, and anyone else in the audience be comfortable with, what we're going to ask in an RFP for a services company to come help write the plan, so that they're focusing on the areas that we think they should focus on, and they've made a stab at how they would like it to be, and they want to update us on that. So I think we should turn it over to them.
Yeah, I will turn over. I'd like to invite you to come up if you want to. We have a microphone there, so it's great if whoever's speaking could speak into that. That way, people tuning in online can hear you. Pull up a chair. This is open discussion, so we don't need to be overly formal.
Do you want me to pass these out?
No.
Okay.
You all have the draft
Yes.
on your computers. Would anyone in the audience like one of the 3 copies that I have?
I'll take one. Do you want one as well?
Okay. So, I'm Susan Taylor, this is Melissa Dawson. Our esteemed chairperson is in Canada, which seems a terrible place to be, but, oh well, he's there.
Why not? If it's going to be cold, you might as well bring it on.
So go big. Okay, actually, the Planning Commission has been considering the Borough Comprehensive Plan for quite a while Don was chairperson, and going over it. The conclusion that the Planning Commission came to a while back was that essentially the existing 2014 plan was too long. When you delve into it, there's duplication, there's repetition,
A lot
and
of extra language.
a lot of extra language.
statistics that might not be useful. Yeah.
And essentially gave you a document that no one really wanted to work with because it was too big.
And that's really what a comprehensive plan should be. It should, have or describe the vision that we have for our town, but it really should be a working document. So. But during that process of going over the old plan, we've worked for quite a while comparing other comparable municipalities' parking standards
And we did come to the conclusion that Yardley Boroughs was really not in sync. So that's something that's still out there that we don't want to forget, because it makes enforcement, review and enforcement really difficult if you have parking standards that aren't comparable to what's happening in other municipalities. So that was a good thing of all that going through. So what the Planning Commission did, what Melissa really did, was get a very good template from Spring,
Spring Grove Borough, which is quite far away, but they're in Pennsylvania, yes.
yeah. And we used that template to create a draft for Yardley Borough itself. Okay. And that's what you have before you. The main thing that we would like to sort of discuss and hash out tonight are the focus areas. Because I think there was a fair sentiment that the comprehensive plan really didn't need much done to it. You know, tweak it here, tweak it there. And we've since gone on to come up with some different focus areas, essentially thinking more to the future, what Yardley Borough can capitalize on that we already have, what assets we can do better things with. And we want to focus on them because the last thing that we want to do is hire a consultant and then have that consultant have one understanding of what they think they're doing, and then that blow up and the public and Borough Council go, no, we're not interested in that. And that's simply a waste of time. So if you can go to page 3, and it's also up on the screen, thanks to Melissa.
That's great.
Doing a PowerPoint. Okay. The first focus area is better utilization of Yardley Borough property.
I think you want to go back a little.
To the other side. Or-
Mark?
I don't know who's.
Yeah, can you go back? Yeah, back
Yes,
one.
please.
Thank you.
Okay. And the bullet points of borough property are Buttonwood Park, Fitzgerald Field, the Borough Annex at the intersection of Afton and Delaware, the barn adjacent to the tot lot itself, the ends of each of the streets that run to the river, which are borough-owned, and they are North and South Delaware. No, the streets themselves are Letchworth Avenue, East College Avenue, Ferry Street, East Afton Avenue, Brown Street, Maple Avenue, Fold Avenue, and Florence Avenue. You have the community garden on Morgan Avenue, that property. The property adjacent to the intersection of Morgan and Fold, which I believe you acquired after a flood. Yeah? Okay. And Borough Hall itself. Okay. And so how do you all feel about delving into better utilization of those facilities?
I think that's important, and I think that a lot of that is underutilized, and I'm just also wondering about Reading Avenue, and if that is something we can actually do something with, or is that just a thing that we bought, and it's, I don't know, because it's right next to the train tracks.
That's borough
Point.
property.
Yeah,
We need to add
It
that
is-
to the list.
yeah.
And we should add on to there, while it's not our property yet,
Oh,
but by the
Yeah.
time this is issued. That's right. Pico lot will be a borough property.
Pico
So
lot.
so you want
Yeah.
to make sure in here.
All right, I'm
we're
going
actually on what-
to knock on wood on that, okay?
Yeah, and if anything else comes up between now and then, we will let you know.
Okay. And that particular one, and we'll go into the municipal assistant grant aspect, but one of the things that is desirable for an application to have is how the things outlined are going to benefit the borough economically. So that one has a particularly good hook when going for the grant money.
Well, one thing is that although it's not acquired, it's absolutely going to get acquired unless something crazy happens. The Pico lot, and we've dubbed that the Yardley Trailhead, which attracts people to come to town and use as an access point to the canal, the state park canal. So that's an example of something maybe you could use.
Yeah.
We have, I don't know if we don't own it completely, but it's in the final stages.
Okay, no, well, this is the next 10 years, so that
Right.
belongs on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully by 2025, you will own it.
And when we get into the process of how to solicit these ideas from members of the public, that's one of the ones where we'll want to get input on, well,
Yeah.
do we really want just the parking lot there? What do we want there? Do you want equipment there? Do we want to raise money for different things there? So that would be good to get those kind of inputs.
Yeah, what the public wants. Yeah, so it's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
May I ask a question about public input? I think I know what the process might be, but if you and the council ourselves can explain.
We'll go through it.
Well, yeah, that's I think one of the items that we do want to discuss after focus
Okay.
areas are the meetings that we've listed in the RFP, which,
Okay, I actually, wasn't even thinking of the means, I just thought in general how they would contact us through other means, but thank you for bringing up the meetings, that's a good point.
yeah.
Okay, well, that's just one aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Thank you.
we'll stick to,
Number 1 of 7.
Yeah.
You wanna say?
Yeah.
Okay. No, it just hit me,
Yeah.
yeah, good. All right. Then riverfront enhancements. Yardley Borough owns the annex, which is directly by the river, and Yardley Borough really doesn't have any place where one could even sit and look at the river. So it seems to be an opportunity to be explored. It's one of our greatest assets and one of our greatest downfalls, but when it's being good, it's an asset. So look into ways to allow the residents, the public, to enjoy the river. And I don't think anyone in the Planning Commission had any visions of active recreation, essentially passive recreation, because we do have the Fish and Boat Commission access area just up the river. But simply looking at the river is very, very enjoyable to people. And I'll use New Hope Borough as an example. What they did was use the end of Ferry Street and the end of Randolph, I think, to create viewing areas at the river. So we thought there was potential
Yeah, absolutely.
to do something new and better and could be exciting.
Yeah. And another thing that would be good to get, people's opinions on.
That's great. Yeah, no, that's something that just comes up a lot from people in town want that, and it would be great to act on it. I think we're in a position, we have a can-do council, and I think we're in a position to get that into the comprehensive plan and actually act on it.
And interestingly, the timing is really good with the Pico property, if we're going to call that a trailhead, and its relationship with the river and other nature activities. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Mm-hmm. Good. And number 3 is review the residential/recreation zone and the underlying ordinance, which is, we have one area that's zoned that, which is the Yardley Country Club. And just to make sure that the zoning that is in place is still what it needs to be and what people want it to be. Because it's the last big open space.
It's a large open space, yeah.
Okay, then the C1 district and businesses. There are a lot of issues regarding C1, many of which are articulated in the existing plan. They continue to be concerns. The parking, but one of the issues that we, and me in particular I, you can figure me, was to look into the ramifications of the sprawl of the C1 uses out into other zones. That's been happening fairly frequently of late, and weighing what allowing C1 to sprawl out does to the heart of Yardley, your central business district.
Can you give us like an example of what you mean?
The bike shop,
Yeah, the bike shop.
yeah. That's the first thing, that's only one thing that comes to mind, I don't know. Yeah.
Could you be more specific in how that was related to? So I'm just not sure I understand.
Just because they moved off of Main Street,
Okay.
and,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
And down there, now they're down on a building on Ripper Road and access the business off of Bell Avenue.
Okay.
So, the tannery, C1 functions are another example. And we have the Zymatic property, okay, that's I-1, that has potential, and certainly there's a lot of space in the tannery that could be used differently, and whether different uses would be beneficial to the community as a whole. Okay, pedestrian circulation, links, and amenities, that's essentially in the existing plan, okay? Bringing the Pico lot on board, you know, adds some extra nuances to that. And, but in a lot of ways, that's how to do it better. And the links to the Delaware Canal never have been developed, the one on College Avenue. That remains a goal to be accomplished.
There's also the trail from the train station to
Right.
the canal that's in there. So you would anticipate leaving that. those
Yeah,
things.
and that's in the existing comprehensive plan, and that, I believe, is still an issue of the owner's willingness to sell.
Yeah, but it's good to have it in front of us because these things just sort of sit there.
No,
I worked on it 10 years ago and it just
Yeah,
sits there.
This
so
is,
it's-
this is a plan for the future. So we
Yeah.
have to keep all those things that haven't been accomplished in there.
And maybe we could have you visit us more often so we can be reminded of what's in there and we can act on it. Also, if you could just remind me, there's been a lot of talk about connections, Afton, to connect to Lower Makefield, like a sidewalk going up Afton, the little section in Dolington, there's sort of like important gaps in the system. I think that's in there, but I don't recall.
I think it is too.
Yeah.
Don, do you remember?
In the existing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's talk of it, yes.
yeah.
But that brings to my, what I was going to say for near the end is, I think we have to look at what are the things that were in the plan from 2014 that are on our focus areas here. In other words, we still think they're viable things to explore. And ask ourselves, well, why didn't it happen in 10 years? Is it purely just a money thing? Or were there other priorities that were more important? Maybe not even from a financial, but from a time, brain power being spent on. And ask ourselves that as we formulate this plan.
What's the best way to do that? Because I know
Afton.
the planning
Right.
commission And when you were a part of it too, but like, we kind of went through chapter by chapter, and we have edits that we want to incorporate, but we also want council's input. So would it be like having a working session meeting like this for each of the focus areas as we get
The
into
ones, you're
this?
talking about the ones that were already in there?
Yeah, yeah.
the-
Because I think we would need, you know, a review of what's in there and what our plans are for the future, and everyone has to be in agreement with that.
Well, it all comes together about how you go get the inputs from everyone. I don't want to steal your thunder. Just, as you guys were talking about
Yeah.
that, I think it kind of, that's the way you got to sift through. What are the
Wait,
priorities?
though I think the analysis of it, of why it didn't happen.
Yeah.
That becomes more internal discussion, because there might be theories
Start
out
down
there.
that path
don't
of the
know.
planning commission, looking at the things that didn't happen. Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of talk about certain aspects of parking. Okay. So let's ask ourselves, what happened? What commissions or whatever were formed or groups were formed? Why things didn't or didn't happen? And the same thing with developing the river was in there, as I recall. Maybe at a very high level. I can't remember exactly what level of detail. But I don't think I got fleshed out
No.
more detail. So asking ourselves, you know, why that was. And it could be just, hey, you can only focus on
Yeah.
a few things at a time. Wheels-
Part of it is when it takes, 10 years to put a sidewalk in.
I
you
know,
know,
exactly.
But it doesn't mean we shouldn't know what our vision is. It just means that we need to then take that as a council and say, okay, what's the order and how do we get this done? And I think that I think we have a sort of a new opportunity to do long-term thinking. And just having been on previous councils, there wasn't always thinking like 5 or 10 years ahead. It was more like, how much money do we have this year? What can we get done? So I think that's a good conversation for us.
Yeah.
It doesn't come down to money.
It comes down to money, but then getting the money.
No, it's both. It's priorities and money. It's usually the reason why things get done or don't get done is because you either have the money or you don't. Or you may have different priorities that come along that maybe, are more important.
It's a big part of getting it done is finding the money because we never
Well,
really
we don't
have the
have
money.
extra money. We
So-
never have extra money.
But what we can, I think, have gotten better at and can keep getting better at is finding the money. Because I agree with you that the money is the reason, but then we have to make our job finding the money. And there is a lot of money out there if you know where to look. And these are compelling projects. I think the idea that we've had recently of working with other municipalities adjacent to raise money together is, compelling for grants to give money for those types of projects.
And that's one of the reasons you have a comprehensive plan, because your grant applications will be reviewed, and the reviewer will look to see whether the project is included in the comprehensive plan, which means it isn't a spur of the moment off the top of your head project. It's something that someone, the borough has thought about.
So anything we want to seek a grant for in the next 10 years, we want to make sure is in this plan so we can reference it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think we need the next slide, yeah.
I don't think, was in here number 6?
Oh, that just
One
got
of the-
lost?
Yeah, one of the items, number 6, that's not listed there is also the sustainability of Lake Afton, which I think is important.
What do you mean?
Just, I think upkeep of that area, because I think it's a big attraction spot for our community.
Are you saying there's something wrong with Lake Afton?
No, that isn't the point of it.
Hearing, I'm just trying to,
Yeah,
can you just explain that better then?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
okay.
Sorry.
Essentially, we all feel, I think most people in Yardley Borough who know that it's owned by 5 property owners, feel absolutely blessed that the borough has been able to maintain the relationship, allowing the public to use that private property, okay? And that's tenuous, okay? We're just really lucky that that happens. So thinking into the future with property owners changing, how you keep that situation, that use in place if you possibly can. I mean, let's say Starbucks was sold, okay? And the new owner thought it would be a really good idea to fill in that corner of the lake to make the parking lot bigger.
You still have friends of Lake Afton that would fight to, keep everything going the way it has been.
Yeah, no, and Friends of Lake Afton is a tremendous asset. It's just looking into the future about how you maintain that relationship. Most people don't know it's privately owned. They make that assumption, and we're just all extremely lucky that it's been able to be maintained as it has.
We have very thoughtful, considerate, kind people that live in the borough for the most part. And I speak from personal experience that everybody that owns Lake Afton loves owning it, loves to keep the tradition going, and loves to see it doing well.
I think that's what you're implying, and that you just want to assure as we move forward, even though we know that Friends of Lake Afton and others are great stewards, we don't know what the future brings. And I think, if I understand what you're saying, just want to assure that.
I'm just having trouble, and I'm just speaking off the top of my head, what the planning commission and what the borough have to do with something that's really truly a private piece of property and maintained very well by Friends of Lake Afton. It's not a, the planning commission to me takes care of a lot of borough property. Am I right? I don't know.
But part of the planning commission's charter is to update the comprehensive plan.
Right, I know,
It's part of
I
what they're
get
supposed to
that,
do.
yeah.
It's not do everything that's inside the comprehensive plan, but it's to go through this process every 10 years and then make sure we're in line with this. As new land development things come before the planning commission, do they fit in line with what?
Yeah, and
And it's not just an outline working document for planning commission, it's for everyone. So maybe an item of that is to provide more support to the Friends of Lake Afton, or I don't know what else we would.
So without getting deep into the weeds, I just want to pull it back for a minute. I think that it's something it's a unique situation because it's privately owned,
It is a
but it's in the
unique
public interest to keep it,
Right,
keep
and,
that wonderful relationship. And maybe, without getting deeper into it, if we just accept that could be addressed in the comprehensive plan.
addressed.
And we can then go into how that needs to address. Maybe it's to do nothing, maybe it's to support, FOLA or,
and support is always something that's appreciated.
yeah.
Because honestly, real estate companies and everybody says, come to Yardley, to Lake Afton, and it is getting harder to maintain it.
Right. And that's an issue for all of us, not just for the property owners. So, yeah.
Or you made a really great point earlier about the, unique funding for different things throughout the community, whether it's a capital improvement or whatever. And I think one of the things I'm inferring is that, and you and I have spoke about this on a number of occasions, about finding additional funding, whether through grants or donations, whatever, to help not just the lake, but many of the different initiatives that you've talked about here. So I just want to make sure it's clear. We really love what you do. Okay?
Yeah, and, the Pathway Project was a borough project that benefited Lake Afton. So there's synergies and cooperative efforts that happen, and this is simply a way to think about how more of that can happen. If that would be a benefit, or how less of that can happen if it wasn't.
Thanks.
Okay, and then we have other areas of interest, parking, the perennial, and thinking of hopefully new and different ways to encourage the sharing and collaborative parking principles, so that we get.
That's a huge one, and I'm glad you're bringing it up because it's a constant issue.
And property value changes, that was a bit of an esoteric concern. Thinking particularly about the flats in Rivermore, where the elevated houses are worth a whole lot more than they used to be, and how those changes in property values affect the town as a whole. It's all theoretical stuff. Okay. Climate change, which we all need to think about, and sustainability as a whole. And then, of course, the always and forever flooding issues. And fortunately, Yardley has a real good handle, I think, on a lot of that. But it can't be a subject that goes away, because it will be back.
Any comment on the other areas, or?
Did you mention affordable housing? Did I?
Oh, I don't think you didn't
think-
mention affordable housing.
It seemed like that was implied with the property value changes. Maybe I missed.
Oh, no, I think I
read
just
that.
zipped
Yeah,
right over
right.
that.
No, it was.
Affordable.
Oh, yeah, skipped it.
Yeah. Which, it sort of goes a bit hand in hand with property value changes.
Yeah.
Could I ask you a question, Susan? I think in the 2014 plan, there was talk of open space preservation also. Does that carry over, or would that need to be restated? Because there are still a couple, again, privately owned, but this is kind of a long-term goal, a wish list type thing. It doesn't mean it would ever happen, but there are some parcels that, if it was presented to us, I think the borough would love to explore the opportunity of protecting, so.
Okay.
I think we should add that as a specific,
I mean, I think if you look at
make sure,
ML7, right, they have a substantial piece of land there. Yardley Friends Meeting House is a substantial piece of land there. So, there are parcels around that.
All right. So, do you want to list them?
Those are the two quick ones that come to mind.
Okay, well, maybe we all want to think about it a little
Yeah, and
more, so we have a bullet
I
list.
think ML7 was in the 2014 plan, because I think I remember getting a call from the owners saying, we're not selling our property. I said, I had to explain to them, no, this is just kind of like a big picture plan that if we had opportunity, something we keep our eye on. So I think that was in the 2014 plan, but I'm not positive.
Okay, and
the golf course
for the
could be-
the sake of the audience, and maybe other, ML7 is what?
Is the tannery, the field to the west of the buildings.
Yeah. Okay, Yardley Friends. Okay, so we'll think of the possibility of others. You think of them, email them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
I
And
think the next thing we want to get into is the public meetings and what we're going to request the consultant to do over the course of this work. So in the RFP, we list the meetings that are expected. We want them to attend at least 2 council meetings, which would be a working session similar to this, maybe to go over the focus areas. And then also to attend at least 2 planning commission meetings. We think that would be an initial meeting, and then when further towards the end of the process. And then as far as public outreach is concerned, we listed just having 1 public meeting, which could be like a hybrid setting similar to your council meetings, and then also participating in at least 1 online survey so that we can solicit input from people online. They don't have to be here in person. I think we'll get a lot more feedback that way, so.
Yeah, and at this point, planning groups have the online survey business down.
Yeah, we've seen that done
Pretty
in
pat,
other
yeah.
municipalities.
Would you have the opportunity to review the survey before it was published to the public? And then how would the data be disseminated? Like, would that be available to council and the public to see? Like, what is there
Which,
already data from the survey? That's
yeah,
I think, yeah, we would own that, yeah.
yeah.
Any of these data gathering things, I mean, they would be in there, maybe as appendix, like in the existing one, you know, when they had those talking sessions or whatever, you know, what were the most desirable ones on the list, how many people were attending, all that, the info about how they gather the data and the results of the data gathering will be in the plan, sort of, or at least referenced in it.
There was years ago, Paula, maybe you remember, I think it was part of the Bucks County Planning Commission. They came here with a whiteboard and they had like a public meeting for the future of Yardley. And I thought it was pretty successful to go through that process and extract from residents what they wanted. And something like that.
That's essentially what this process is about. I mean, you can't, in today's world, you can't do any plan without doing the whole public survey thing.
Yeah.
Like an intrinsic set part. What we did make an assumption in this is that the borough would be using its email broadcast
Social media.
capabilities to send out the notices of the meetings, to send out the surveys. So that was an assumption, so you all need to be comfortable with that, because if you're not, that's something the consultant will have to factor in on price.
So that would be like a community outreach function. That would be like perfect to just, because, you're very good at that. So,
All the different ways to make sure we have a full.
yeah, but just that walkable Yardley group that the person started within a day had 400 members. If you know where to go and how to get people excited, and you've done that really well also. And I think we could get the kind of input you're looking for.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, good.
People give me their input just on their own anyway, so. If we solicited, I think we could get even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think an important component of what the consultant would be bringing back before anything goes anywhere are certainly the questions, basic presentation content, so that we're all comfortable that it's an impartial, non-biased survey. It's not leading anybody anywhere. It's allowing people to say whatever they feel they need to say. Okay. Next up, the timeline. Okay, and this gets a little tricky in that the borough has stated they only have X amount of dollars to spend on this, which would be about half of the cheapest price that we've seen anywhere, because we've surveyed other boroughs. And so the premise is for the borough to apply for municipalities assistance grant. Okay. And I believe Carolyn said she was working on that application.
Did she initiate that application? Do we know?
I think, Paula, do you know about that?
She hasn't submitted anything yet, no.
Okay,
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
okay. I think Planning Commission is a little bit worried about missing an opportunity to get funding if it is delayed further. It's my understanding that it's been talked about for a long time, so I don't know.
There is a rolling grant that's out there that we can apply for as well, and it's a 1-1 match.
50/50. That's the main
50/50.
one.
Okay.
And it's really geared towards the comprehensive.
Yeah,
plan.
well, that's,
I think that's the one we're talking talking about.
Yeah, I think that's all the same one that we
Municipality
spoke in your meeting.
Assistance Grant.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
did reach out to the governor's office just to get more information, and they approve these grants twice a year, so in the spring and in the fall, and the spring cycle's coming up. And they did let us know that they have received, I guess, additional funding, so they're in a good position to approve grants at this time. Sometimes, they're a little bit more
Better.
picky.
What's the deadline for the spring? Did they tell you?
It's March, but
That's when they review.
that's when
You
they
can
start
stick
to
it.
review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to get it in by March something, or?
Yeah, there's not a hard deadline,
Okay.
Not a
but
hard
if
date.
they start reviewing in March, you might get
Okay.
pushed to fall. So we were hoping that could happen.
Do you need to have the response from do you need to have, does anyone know, do we need to have the RFP responded to before we can
No,
apply?
I don't think so. I went through the grant application and I think, yeah, we don't need
So how
the,
do we determine how much we put in, or does it depend on how much we're billed for the work?
in terms of the RFP, like when you guys attended our meeting, I think it was discussed that 5,000 was budgeted for this year, right, in the current budget. And if we wanted to go with something higher, then whatever that additional price was could be factored into next year's budget. So I think we were looking at a range of like 10 to 15, 10 being, the borough would cover half, rest would come from the grant. And we would use funds for 2025 for the remaining amount. And that's something we can include in the RFP. We do talk about the fact that payment of services is pending on the assumption that we will be approved for the grant. And we can also include, if we want to, still go with that 10 to 15 range, that funding also won't be available until 2025. So they might have to space their work out. They might have to invoice us later on. So,
And quite frankly, the borough can go fishing, send out the RFP. We made the recommendation of the Bucks County Planning Commission, who've done 70 or more % of the comprehensive plans in the county. Urban Research and Development, who did the 1989 plan, and Boucher and James. And, it's with the realization that you're fishing, and you're using them in order to get a price. But again, any RFP says, the borough has the right to refuse any and all proposals. So,
I don't think you should put anything in there about some of the funds coming from 2025 or whatever.
No.
That doesn't.
We'll figure it
don't
out.
do that. We'll figure that
no,
out.
well, that isn't in
Get the
here.
quotes in.
okay.
I know, but you commented on that, if that should be.
Yeah. No,
That's like our
I think
internal.
We wanted to ask if that needed to be included or not, but.
I don't think so.
No. So it's a quite, if we wanted to get started on this now, okay, we need to get the municipalities assistance grant application done. After reading the application, I think there's a good case for Yardley Borough because of some of the focus points, and put it out there and see what comes back. I mean, if you get 3 quotes back, all of which are over $15,000, then more thought needs to be put into this.
I'm sorry, may I ask a question? What is our feeling about the, I'm not familiar with these companies that do the consulting, but are there a number of them throughout the country or the state?
Well, there's not a lot that are going to do it within this budget.
Oh,
Because we're
okay.
very low. If you, we have reached out to other municipalities and also the local governor's office about, our price range or just like what it costs other people to do the same thing. And I think it's been like $50,000 to $60,000 for.
And then that's the second part of my question.
Yeah.
Do we suffer from a quality report because we're not spending as much as other municipalities may?
I think the downside of going cheap is that you will have less creative planning energy put into it. You know, the riverfront, better utilization. But, you know, if the Bucks County Planning Commission and these other firms do have an advantage in that they're Pennsylvania firms. Any document that they produce specifically says it has to comply with the Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Code, blah, blah, blah. So, and Bucks County Planning Commission has an advantage in that they have all the maps all by themselves.
They know the
map-
territory.
Yeah, maps have, you know, they're an important part of this. But you want somebody fairly local. You don't want somebody who's going to be charging a lot of travel time and not be really familiar with the area that they're dealing with.
What is the background of a company or persons that do this?
Engineering firms and planning firms. A lot of the engineering firms that do it will have a really high overhead. Listen, again, that goes into cost.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
How long does it usually take to get a comprehensive plan from whoever, because we need help, correct? It's not like we could do that ourselves, so we have to find the money to pay somebody to do that, but once we figure out whether we can afford it, and if we can, how long does it take to actually get the plan to, like, finished end?
I think Yardley Borough's timeline, they recently contracted with Bucks County Planning Commission, was 10 months. Okay.
And-
Yeah, Spring Grove was a
We
year.
need that plan in writing to be able to make reference to it to get grants, is what you
The
said earlier,
comprehensive
right?
plan, yeah.
We have our existing one, but we're talking about the update of it. So
Well,
we would reference the existing one.
Talking about
For the
the
grant?
updated one.
Yeah.
'Cause I thought you were looking for the updated one for the grants.
We-
No,
We need a plan.
Grants or for the grant for the comprehensive plan?
no,
Oh,
just
for
like
future.
the grants for all the improvements that you want.
Oh, okay.
You
So
you
that would be
just,
next year.
If you let it lag significantly, you know, into 2025, and we're applying for a grant in the middle of 2025 for something you want to do, and they look at, well, now you got a 12-year-old,
Well, that's what I'm
11-year-old
saying.
plan. So that's why we're doing that. We want to,
Right, right.
Yeah.
we want to get it done.
You need it's better to be fresh
Yeah,
and current,
right.
but you're going to have to wait 10 months, so it kind of, you know, I'm thinking like, you know, thinking through, that you're going to kind of have to wait a little bit to be able to use that plan to get grants for some of the new projects
But
that
we're
we're
not going to
talking
stop
about.
applying for other grants.
Yeah, we'll use the existing one till the new one exists, and then we'll use the new one, basically.
but only all the things that are in the 2024 plan, I'm sorry, 2014 plan, you can apply for those things, and the grantor is going, yep, that's in there.
Check. Yeah.
So it's the new things that,
Well, that's what I said, the new things you have to wait on, because you have to wait for the new plan to come out.
Well, I mean, you don't have to. It's just that it helps, it helps. So we could reference, this will be in our new comprehensive plan to be released. That's what I would do if I was putting it in, and I would detail that
Oh, okay.
that's for
I'm just looking at
inclusion.
it from the other side.
Right.
If I were the other person, I'd be like, well, I know you said you're going to put it in your plan, but I'd like to see it.
Yeah, then we wouldn't get that grant.
yeah.
Okay, so,
Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, who does administer a whole lot of money. They're pretty notorious for looking at municipalities comprehensively.
and are they, from what you know, the Bucks County Planning Commission, do you think that they're the ones that are like most appropriate for what we're looking for? They do a lot of them, right?
Yeah. I think we would prefer to have a different planning firm do it, but I think, again, within our budget, they are the most appropriate.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
And
the ones that you prefer, have you looked into the rates of what you think they would be?
higher, We know-
Higher, but how much
we know-
higher?
we
Like
know that.
50 or like, no, but I mean like 15, 18 or like,
25 and 50 and,
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot more, right? So it's going to take more effort on the part of planning commission, council, and the residents to drive what's in there as opposed to them creatively doing it, essentially, is what I hear you saying.
I talked to a council person in Morrisville Borough, and they had the Bucks County Planning Commission, but she said their Environmental Action Committee was really a driving force in providing input. So, if we're going on this premise that we don't want to spend a lot, I think the borough needs to be prepared to provide information, input. It can't be everybody sitting back going, oh,
Right.
consultant has it.
But I think that's actually a good thing in many ways. If we're all prepared to input, then we'll wind up with something better than someone predicting what we would want. So just to kind of bring this to conclusion, you have an RFP. Thank you so much for putting the work into doing this. It says that you want it by X date. I mean, it sounds like that's the only thing, these minor corrections from today and just the date. And the RFP takes how long typically to get back?
I think we'd ask for like a month.
Month.
Turnaround if they propose.
So it sounds like if this could go to Paula, would you be the one sending this out to those firms mentioned? Maybe if Paula got it with a list of the ones you'd recommend that you know of, could you then just send it out?
Yeah, we would have to advertise, we could advertise for it, and
Richard said he was going to call about that, and I don't know whether he got that done. Whether it's required to be advertised, because these are professional services. And that's a different ballgame,
We weren't sure.
whether it had to be advertised.
Also, our threshold, it's interesting because our threshold is what, like 12,000 something? So we're right around where that line is.
right.
You know, so we've got to figure that out. But I think we should move on this. Get these out, because we have to get it back. Then we have to in the meantime, maybe we could put together what the grant application looks like. Just, we leave the amount blank.
You could even,
We
that
should
was
push
one
to
of the,
get the grant
yeah.
ready for their next plan.
For March.
That was one of
Yeah.
the things I asked the governor's offices, if you need like a hard number for that fee. And they said, as long as you kind of explain where you're at, we don't have to have an answer from the RFP to apply for that.
Oh, I see.
If we have that range and we're explaining what we're doing, that can go into the application, maybe a maximum.
Go
That,
down both paths.
Right.
I do want you to check on your link in here. You have a link to the current comprehensive plan.
yeah.
When I go to that link, you need to find a better link because it's missing pages 53 to 108.
That's the one that's posted on Bucks County's website.
actually reading it.
It's like, because I looked at the table of contents, I was trying to look up that recreational area thing, see what they said, and I couldn't find the page.
Maybe instead we could attach the comprehensive plan, because that's the only one I could find that was publicly available through the Bucks County website. Unless there's,
We'll
We-
attach the real.
We can post that on our website. We have,
that'd be great too. If it, I don't know if it's.
yeah,
I think it's out there. Okay.
I
just
thought it
wanted to
used to be,
put that
yeah.
out so we- sure we
we,
did that. And then the other thing too is, the one thing I'm nervous about is that who you send this RFP to, first thing you're gonna do is look at the 2014 plan. And they're gonna see 135 pages, and they're gonna say, that price range, no bid, no thanks.
price per page.
So I think you need to have a session with them, bring them bidders, I don't know if you can, I don't know how you do that, but so that they fully understand. The focus areas is basically all we want, pretty much all we want. And we want to churn through the other stuff
Yeah.
using available resources that are there to cut and paste in numbers and how the demographics have changed. Okay, fine.
So maybe
But then-
on 5B, we put it in bold, a more concise.
Yeah, we were trying to get
Far,
that.
far more concise.
I don't know if it did get across, but
Well, when you, obviously,
maybe what Don's saying about having a call ahead of time, would we want to incorporate that before they submit their proposal? Sorry.
oh, it's not.
Maybe we just flat out
Look on the same.
include in here, it is our intent that the
Like a note,
new comprehensive plan will be
simpler, more
very short,
succinct.
or
Yeah.
something.
Right, okay.
More legible.
We can add that language and
More
try to-
comprehensible. A comprehensive plan.
We want it actionable.
Action.
We want it to be a guide for action,
Yeah.
not a encyclopedia.
Something you stick on your shelf, which is what I
like
did
Vito's
after
stats.
we finished the last one.
That's all.
And I think a real positive is that certain of these firms use the word implementable over and over again, which is excellent.
That's good, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, very good.
So everyone knows what they're doing, so this doesn't get lost, right? Okay.
What are we doing with the grant? Do we have to follow up with Caroline for action on that? Or
I think maybe, because Caroline's not here, maybe working through Paula, does that work?
Talk with her.
And we will work on our side of it,
Great.
of making sure we apply for that grant.
Okay,
Okay, by
before March. That's fine.
Should we say March 1st?
February, how about mid-February?
Yeah. Okay, I mean, so how long do we need on that? I defer to you, Paula. Because,
I'll talk to her tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sure we can get it done, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, a lot of it is dancing with language,
Right.
as most grants are.
I mean, it'd be great to get a copy of somebody else's submission that they successfully did. I don't know if that's something that with your colleagues,
Need to check with Carolyn. I think she's already gone down this.
she's already done it, yeah.
Yeah.
And the governor's office is a great resource for any questions you
Yeah,
have.
because we're not reinventing the wheel.
They're looking for, they were really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, thank you very much for all of the detail. It's great for us to connect like this, to get the input, and for the work that you're doing, we all really appreciate it.
and if there are any other parts of this, the more boilerplate things that are not comfortable, bring it forth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item, Paula, I'll just have this, maybe you can introduce this one, is 81 North Delaware Avenue lot line adjustment.
Okay. Yardley Borough received the proposed minor lot line adjustment for 81 North Delaware Avenue and 85 North Delaware Avenue. This lot line adjustment involves a transfer of 625 square feet from 85 to 81. There was a plan that was submitted to our zoning officer, and it's a one-sheet dated plan of November 20th, 2023, prepared by Kelly Engineers per Section 22-455 of the Yardley Borough Subdivision Land Development Ordinance. The proposed subdivision meets the definition of a minor lot line adjustment. It was determined that the proposed lot line adjustment would not involve a change in any municipal improvements, create a new parcel, which could be subdivided, result in a change of use in any of the parcels, or any other factors that would impact Yardley Borough. Therefore, everything was submitted to Caitlin, our zoning officer. She reviewed it. Per our code, they're asking for a waiver of the mandatory subdivision land development ordinance. And Mr. Wilcox is here if anybody has any questions.
Hi, Mr. Wilcox, would you like to say anything about that? You want to come up here and maybe first just state your name and address and just,
I got questions. If you could come up, appreciate it.
okay. Thanks for coming up.
Hi, my name is Don Wilcox, and This is my wife, Hillary Armitage.
Welcome.
Obviously, we both live and own 81 North Delaware Avenue. I do want to take this opportunity, if I might, I'm not sure if everyone in council knows that we were one of the houses that was uplifted through the FEMA program that Yardley Borough participates in. And I do want to say how much I appreciate that program. I especially appreciate that Yardley Council is willing to participate in that program. I think it's a huge benefit for all the families that live along the river. And so thank you for that. We were really grateful to be a part of that program. We're really happy with the way it was, undertaken. Susan Mastelli has been great. Pat Foley is always delightful to work with, and Paula has been helping us with all the stupid questions we have been pointing us in the right direction. So thank you for that, Paula. So, yeah, we during the uplift, I happen to really focus in for the first time since we've lived here on the fact that there's a little piece of land that juts right into our property, right in the middle of the property. And, I was hoping to, while we're at it, get that lot line resolved. I'm really good friends with our neighbors, Cliff and Chris Lewis. We've talked to them extensively about this, and they're fine with it. It would give us an opportunity, for, future improvements, perhaps a little bit, to have that sorted out. So we thought of, while it's on our mind, just go ahead and get that taken care of. I have a drawing I have the plan if you're interested in looking at where it falls in the property.
We have that in our packet. So I think what I want to do is see if there's a motion to approve this lot line change at 81 North Delaware Avenue, and then we'll go into discussion.
I will go ahead and so moved.
Okay. Have a second? Second. Okay. Motion brought by Councilperson Applebaum and seconded by Councilperson Steele Morris. And now, council discussion.
I have a question. When you researched it, could you figure out why it had this funky jog in it? Was there some old well or something? Was there something that drove it?
The whole way the property is laid out is very strange, and I don't quite understand. I guess, there's the main part of our property, which is one tax parcel. Then there's the driveway next to it on the other side. That's another tax parcel. And then there apparently I'm not quite sure who before us that owned the house, bought another strip of land in the back towards Morgan, right, which left this 25 square foot piece they didn't buy from the neighbor. That was, now the one piece was part of, theirs is two separate parcels. So the parcel in the back, they bought a piece of. They didn't buy that piece that's just a little bit of the front parcel. And why it was ever shaped like that, I don't know. There's a stream that runs through there, used to run through there before the canal was put in. So if that had anything to do with it, I have no idea.
The further back you go in time, the more weird stuff like that you find. Yes, Ms. Taylor.
Yeah, going back to the original Rivermore subdivision, you had parcels on the river, and then they only went halfway back to Morgan, so that was another parcel. In my research, I did the house that's on the corner of Maple and Delaware, and consistently 5D. It's parcel 85 plus 1/2 of parcel 96. So they were such small parcels that people bought more than one, and sort of little parts here and there. It's craziness.
Part of the interesting fabric of our history, Yardley. So is there any additional questions, discussion in the public? So I'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 6-0. And with that, do we have a motion to adjourn? Second? Motion is made by Councilperson Siegel Morris.